proposal, then the conduct or personalization of your research plans, and then I want to also do a little light on supervision of graduate research. So where I sit in the graduate school, I get to glance through almost every report. That is the examining thesis that comes back. I get to see every one of them to ensure that it is complete report, and also to make sure that all the other attached documents are there for us to be able to make a determination of the results. In some cases, I have to read through the whole document, the whole report thoroughly, because sometimes you see somebody has scored, the last week I checked, somebody scored 7%. See, 7%, then I have to read the whole report. Because how could somebody get literature review 2 marks, methodology 2 marks, objective 1 mark? So I was confused. And then there are some who indicate I'm not giving any grade. Then of course you have 40, 10. So then you have 95. So I'll check to see whether there are any comments at all. And I've even seen 100. Yes, I can show you comments if I were allowed to do that. But your head of department can come and see for himself or herself. Give me 100, and then all these I go through thoroughly, because if it's 100%, you wonder whether there was any comment. And if you have considerable amount of comments there, the person is scoring 100. But for our purpose, issues of relevance of research topic has come out strongly of late. That some areas are being over-researched. It is important that we try and get into new, the emerging issues, the current issues that will make an impact on development. Something that will input into policy. Not just take somebody's work sitting there, try to put a little coating on it and it becomes another. So one puts a red coating, the next person puts yellow. It's the same story over and over, and then some others are complicated. That you can see new areas that should be tackled. The relevance of literature review again is a major concern. A lot of the time there's literature there, but whether it is relevant. One that I showed, I had a workshop for supervisors, and one that I showed them, for instance, the examiner claims the student has done the review, and unfortunately for the student, there's even a journal dedicated to that particular subject. A full journal. It is only one article from that journal. All the others are technical reports that are not really scientific material. Technical reports that are not peer-reviewed in any way. And those, so as far as the examiner was concerned, the whole thing read like a technical report. The research methodology, again, is an issue. When you don't have a clear-cut research methodology that was followed, then you get everyone lost. Because we need to be able to repeat what we did. Somebody has to do the same thing or do something similar to yours. You have to be able to retrace your steps and do a similar work. But people come, and sometimes the PhD and the person is not sure of how they did the sampling. Everything is random sampling. And you ask, how did you do your random sampling? And he says, oh, I talked to this person, and then, oh, he led me to that person, so I was snowballing. If you are snowballing, is that random sampling? So we have to be clear on what methodology we follow. Somebody says, I'm in English. So English, there's no methodology. So how did you gather the information that you summarize? How did you go? What strategies did you take? You are reviewing somebody's books. The person has written 10 books. you are reviewing them. What strategy did you use to come out with the information that you needed, that you summarize and argued on for or against whatever it is? So you cannot just skip the methodology and expect that another person is also reviewing some other artists' books. They should also use their own way. There should be some clear-cut, straightforward, easy ways of doing this. See, for the science people, it tends to be a little straightforward. When it comes to the humanities, you have to be sure of what is done in your specific area and do similar to that topic. The lack of data collection, that is again one area that links up to the methodology. Your methodology should clearly indicate where you're getting your information from. The quality of the data that is collected is very essential. It's not just analyzing any data. If the data collected is not valid, quality is poor, the analysis is meaningless, no matter the volume of data that you have collected. If one can prove that it was biased, then there's no point in making any useful deduction from that data. Because sometimes we have seen people who are placed right in the middle of the data they are collecting. So their position is such that the results are predetermined. So it doesn't really change anything. Right from scratch, they knew what was going to be the final decision as far as the argument was concerned. For data analysis, you'll say maybe humanities, but again, there is some amount of data analysis that should be done. Maybe you won't call it data analysis, but content analysis. Sometimes this is important. Could be even music. Could be poetry, but content analysis can be done. But others also collect data, and these data should be properly analyzed and presented. So these are some of the areas that prompt me to bring these issues up. There are other issues that border on plagiarism, for instance, that I haven't shown you, and that is something that we also need to address. So you have told me your objectives. What I have in mind is to ensure that we are able to enhance your knowledge, to make it easy for you to identify your research area and what research question that you have to answer. I'm also very much concerned about research integrity and plagiarism. We have to be sincere in our research. We take it that, well, maybe nobody knows what we are doing, but research is ongoing, it's an ongoing thing. That's why I say we research and research. So you are not the only person in this business. So you don't go and take something on UT Bank that somebody did at KMUST, and then you said, well, and there's Stanbic Bank here, so we change UT to Stanbic Bank, and then produce a document, give it to us here, because we are not at KMUST. All these have happened. Professor Jacob will tell you we have seen worse things than that. Because it's been on the grabbing board for a long time. Some cases come as a complete duplication. Somebody has worked on something to do with school, head teachers, and somebody changed that to headmasters. The questionnaire, word for word, the same questionnaire that was used. The responses were the same. How could that happen? So in such cases, it was just an outright failure. So we want to talk about integrity because this country needs that. You are the people who are growing. We don't start from that. I went to orientation and told the students, get one bed and not two beds. Now I have 3 people. They balloted for beds at the graduate school, got them. And one of them went to Alex Papon, got another bed. 2 of them, they got theirs from Porter Hall. So there are 2 ladies, 1 gentleman involved. And we just kept on waiting to see whether they would sign for the 2 places. And they have signed. These are your colleagues. And they signed. So one lady came to me. We wrote that, well, we have taken our room. And copied Voter Hall that this is what happened. We didn't ask Voter Hall to also take their room. But they have done the right thing. They have also taken their room. And now she's asking for a refund. You see, you are laughing. I said, well, that's fine. You can get your refund. But it has to go up there. If it gets to the Vice Chancellor, you can go and bring your refund. So we want to sharpen your skills on using the appropriate methodology and guide you on those of you who are developing your proposal. And as I said, a little bit on the rules and responsibilities of students and the supervisors in the partnership for you to produce your thesis. So let me quickly say that we need to clarify this issue that every graduate student, MSc, MA, you have 1 supervisor. Mphil, you should have 2 supervisors. If you don't have, when we leave here, you go and ask your head of department if you have only 1 to assign a second one to you. PhD, you should have a minimum of 2, and you could go up to 4. So you have the graduate student in the center of activity. The head of department is there. Every department has a departmental graduate committee. Then you have supervisors. So you have a team that is supervising you as a graduate student. And each of them will have their own roles. And the head of department is the one who will meet with the students, present the program timetable for the department, not for the university, that maybe end of first semester you should have told us about the area you want to research on, and the committee then is formed for you, and we need you to give us a seminar on your proposal by this date. All these are the duties of a head of department, and we've told them. That's why I'm also telling you. So if the things have not been done in your case, you can go and say, well, graduate school said they have told you this. So if there's no graduate committee, we have to know. So that maybe something is on paper, but it's not operating, we should know. They submit progress report on you. The head of department has to organize seminars, and in the end, the head of department will also submit names of examiners as well as your final title of the thesis to us. So everything goes through your head of department. So you have to stop just rushing to graduate school, my office, checking on some of these, because when you come, I ask you to go back. When you come the next day, when you leave, I call your head of department. So deal with your head of department. Because overall supervision of all the students in the department rests on the head of department. The graduate committee helps in the selection of courses and research area for you. So once you indicate your interest, the committee should be able to assign people knowledgeable in that area. They could be even from different departments to supervise you. And so they recommend supervisors for you, and they have to get a progress report from you. So we have put in place to suggest ways of improving graduate programs in the department, and also to put pressure on you to submit your work on time. So what you should expect from your supervisor is for the supervisor to discuss issues that are related to the conduct of research from the onset, especially these ethical issues, plagiarism, intellectual property. I expect your heads of department, the supervisors, to tell you about this. So your supervisor should necessarily tell you about intellectual property right, how to do your citation, how not to copy somebody's work, and all that. They also suggest ways of effective time management. The supervisor will make time to see you, guide and mentor you to ensure that you receive the proper training. So all this means that your supervisor or supervisors will have to be your friends. You have to work closely together. Because we believe the supervisor should be the one who is assisting you in selecting your topic if need be. If you have a topic already, the supervisor can fine-tune it, but to guide you in terms of even the relevant literature to use, to advise, and sometimes to even train you in some specific methodology. So it's not everything that is taught in the general class. Sometimes based on the topic you are working on, you get training on some specific methodology, because that is what relates to your specific area. Then I also look at the issue of co-supervisors or other supervisors, because this keeps coming that most of you are working with only one supervisor, even though you have been assigned two. You say, why? Yes, so tell us. That's why do you work with one instead of the two when you have been assigned? You feel more comfortable with one than the other. Sometimes the uncomfortable one is the one who is blunt. He cuts sharply. If it's bad, he says, look, this is bad. The one who keeps saying, oh, just keep writing. Go on. Until you bring in the end, then the other one says, well, I don't believe I've supervised you, so I'm not signing the document. Or, you leave it, I'll take my time to read through. This is the last minute. And he said, oh, the other one said it's okay, but this other one has not seen it. So it needs time to read. So we'll say, okay, leave it, go and ask for extension. So I'll take my time to read. I don't blame the supervisor. So for us, it's important that we work with the two, because sometimes it's a way of strengthening the methodology and sometimes the statistical aspects, depending on the subject area. The synergy that comes out of the union, the different supervisors, sometimes is what strengthens your methodology. So you have two people to think about what you want to do. And they may come with their specific field of knowledge as a team. We also look at it as a way of mentorship for our young faculty. So we have a senior person, a junior faculty, and we learn from each other. A lot of these young people are coming with very sharp skills in terms of electronic media techniques and all that. We have a lot of experience using the computer and all that. They team up with others and makes the whole team work effectively. Then there are times where some people have to go for sabbatical or the supervisor is not feeling well. Then the other easily substitute. So continuity of supervision is there. Yes, please. It's a requirement. Yeah. It means it's a physical presence. Yes. Yeah, but it doesn't mean it's out of this world.
That means you can liaise with the person by email.
Yeah, but the supervisors will have to agree on how they will operate. Not you playing the supervisors. They should play it. So the supervisors know each other, they should interact and then give their feedback to you. So they interact and then bring you into it. Makes it easier. So they know what you are sending to one in Ghana, you are sending to somebody in UK. At the same time, they know. And they can communicate and get feedback to you. Yes.
I wonder if you are assigned to anyone.
For MA, yes.
Mphil.
No. You need to. That's why go back to your head of department and get another one. Okay, well, so the supervisor has a whole lot to do. To be your advisor, to be your guide, to be the one to be the quality assurance person. I also always say that the supervisor has to provide a shoulder for you to cry on, so he has a pastoral role to play. And well, a lot of people, when guests don't have, they are frustrated and all this. You need a good supervisor, good listening ears to listen to you, to advise you. Sometimes it's a question of you lost a year one and all this. All this, the supervisor comes in to encourage you not to give up. So people have had their laptops crashing and all that towards the last minute. There are a whole lot of areas where the supervisor has to be quick in providing a pastoral role, as well as providing an administrative role to ensure that you are meeting all the administrative requirements of the university, of your college, of your school, and of your department, as well as the ones who come to the graduate school. So the supervisor has a lot to do, but you also have a lot to do to make these things work. So we are not signing a formal contract as some universities do, but we take it that by accepting to be a graduate student here, no matter what your age, you have also accepted to be supervised. So you could be older than your supervisor, but that is not the issue. You have to be supervised. So you have to initiate contact and request for meetings. Don't like your supervisors be chasing you. You have to understand the college, the department, the school, the departmental requirements that are relevant to graduate studies, and maintain your interest throughout the period that you are involved in the research. This is important because I know most of you are working, even though you tell us you are full-time students. So sometimes you take the topic and you disappear. It doesn't show that you are committed. You have to be committed throughout the period. And you have to set timelines. I mean, the supervisor will guide you, set timelines on that research contract that you have. And you are responsible for meeting the deadlines within the milestones that are set during the period. And you inform your supervisors of problems that are affecting the progress. You don't wait until the last minute. If there's a problem where you are not making progress, the supervisor should know immediately. Sometimes they are current problems, other times they are anticipated problems. You can see that you are going to run into this problem, and it's up to you to alert your supervisor so you think about what do we do in this case. I'm getting a lot of students who say that I have to break to go and have a child, or somebody says I had a difficult pregnancy. But I know we say something like, when somebody we say somebody is pregnant and they say they are not. We know what to tell them. And this thing, it doesn't grow down, it grows out. So it grows out, it doesn't grow in. So you yourself know that at some point you will have to break. Or if from the first month it's a difficult pregnancy and it's something that your doctor lets you be going to bed rest, then we put a human face to it. We defer that semester, so you don't have to pay for extension. But it's not that we come in later and said because I had a difficult pregnancy or childbirth, so I couldn't finish. See, then we charge you for extension. Because it's now that you're going to be looking for medical reports and all that. And you have friends, you have relatives. Anybody could alert graduate school that this is the situation. Then when it comes to the actual drafts that you send, we have also alerted your supervisors that they start reading, they see spelling mistakes, typographical errors, grammar. They should just return the document to you. So you can go and make the change. But even the computer underlines the start check. Tell your supervisor who should be doing typographical errors for you. But some of you print right from the computer printer and then you go and give to your supervisor. Or if you are binding something, you just give it to those bindery session. They bind, and whether they included other people's photocopy material or not, you don't even care. One that I had last week, 10 pages missing from the thesis that was submitted for examination. There's an examiner who has written at the back, pages 28 to 38 missing. And you will say that, well, the supervisor should have seen. But maybe the supervisor did his or her work. Print the final one for examination so I can sign. The supervisor never flipped through to be sure that all the pages were there. Now I've told the supervisor, so they are likely to flip through to the head to be sure that it is there. The other one got to page 11 and then continue from page 60. All the way to the end of references and then page 12 came back. And you only blame the people who are binding. That is your work. The last issue that I want to quickly go through is, before I summarize, will be the issue of etiquette. That in this partnership, students and supervisors, you should be ready to express the highest level of respect, courtesy. There should be no harassment whatsoever, whether it's sexual harassment, emotional harassment, intellectual harassment. And that goes both ways. Yeah, I mean, you don't go and sit somewhere and say, oh, you see, when I gave to this supervisor, he didn't touch anything. And this one has come out like this one, he doesn't know anything. We hear all kinds of things. That one saw mistakes, the other one didn't see. So we think that one is useless. In the same way, I only want the supervisor to shout on the student, you are so stupid, or this is useless. I mean, SH students will not write this. That's an intellectual abuse. Sometimes that means the person's spirit so much. It's so difficult to bring them out. So we talk to both ends. And there shouldn't be any sexual harassment. If you are going through that, and it's from your supervisors, something that the university does not allow. And in the same way, the student cannot harass. You are laughing. When I went to Methodist University to talk to them about supervision, one pastor said, look at me, an old man, and what the student was doing to me. You see, just by the power of God. So you see, it goes both ways. So don't think it's only one way. We both see we set enough time for the students so they will have optimal accessibility to the supervisors, but in the same way we need to have you present when the supervisor needs you. That is the only way by which we can get this attention. If for most of the time the supervisor looks for you, you are not there. Don't expect that because we have told the supervisor to be ever ready for you, the supervisor should be there when you need them. No. And you have to respect the privacy of supervisor too. Well, I don't expect you to be sending me a text message 11 p.m. or you call me 11 p.m. because that is when it is free on MTN. No. Let's respect each other. Now, just a quick thing on this is one like Terry Mphil. This is his paper from 2005, and he's trying to summarize supervision styles into 4, based on how much support the supervisor provides, in terms of guiding you, in terms of advising you on what literature, what methodology. So support in terms of material that you need to read, guide, and then structure in terms of management. When do we meet? When do you submit this? When do you get a feedback from me? So there should be structure, there should be support coming from the supervisors. And you have, at this end here, low support, low. So you have a student who is has a very low motivation, and the supervisor too does not provide anything. It's like, oh, keep going until the end he signs, or she signs. So that's a laissez-faire attitude, which is not what we expect. Then you also have some supervisors who provide you everything. They even photocopy material, they download material, give to you, tell you, summarize, no, it's not good. They rewrite what you have written, and then you just go and copy that. So they may be providing a lot of support, but there's really no structure. All they do is give. That's why I say it's a pastoral. Again, it's not ideal. It doesn't hold you to any tax for you to perform tax. It's not tax driven. You can also have one that gives you high structure. We have to meet every other week, and we have to provide this by this time, that time. But they don't provide much direction as to just read this material, do this or that, but a lot of meeting and taxing you, but the support coming from them is very low. On the other hand, the contractual one is tax driven. So you are set up with tax. The supervisor throws in a lot of support. There's a very rigid structure, meeting times, submission of milestones are set, what to supply at that milestone, and it's tax driven. That is where we want you to end up. That you are giving tax and you bring feedback and we move on to the next stage. So you know how to respect time, you know how to conduct behave at meeting and all that. So you get supervisors in all these categories if you summarize. And we know you compare supervisory styles of the students compare. Somebody will tell you, my supervisor is like this, you say, oh, my supervisor, or he doesn't really care. But for the different students, for one particular supervisor, you should know that the style may not even be the same. It depends on your need. It depends on your abilities and even your personality. So even the same supervisor may treat four students differently. And also for a given student, the supervisor may start this way, but move, and finally maybe move this way. So the style may change in the course of the supervision, depending on what stage. So we shouldn't be quick to criticize my supervisor is bad, and this person talks about the supervisor is good and all that. We should try to work with whatever supervisor we have, making sure that we are tasked, so we give feedback. There's a structure, so we are able to meet regularly. So I'm going to stop here, and if there are any quick comments, I'll take them. I told you I'm not the resource person for you. I'm just going over the marks so we can get going. So if there are any quick comments, I will going to make. Thank you. I always have the song. Whether you read or not, is another issue. Yes, please.
As the introduction, you said students should learn how to write new things, like write new topics, and
How to
come out with new relevant. Now, there is a current issue now, Ebola. We know it's not in Ghana, but can a student write on it?
Oh, what aspect of it?
Like its prevention, so that it doesn't even come at all.
I think, you see, you have a short time to do your work. You have to be sure that whatever you are involved in, you are able to gather sufficient data and all that and finish in 1 year or 2 years. So, yes, you can. But think about all this. You know, whether there's sufficient material for you to read.
And whether you get a supervisor.
So there's a whole lot. It's important that the supervisor and the student share common interest. That's why we look at your area and assign you people who are likely to be interested in that area. Because if the interest is not there, it's also difficult. I know sometimes the numbers are said that some supervisors get students in areas that, but some of them will be quick to tell you they are not comfortable with this subject matter. And it's fair. Yes.
Follow up on that one. We are also told that we are not to solve the policy, we are to solve the research. So if there is an emergency issue, you go into it and then in the literature you will not find anything of it. And that one we don't look at that one.
But what is a policy issue? The research will feed into policy. You come out with something that then you can make recommendation into policy. So they are not still we can't solve the policy
See,
issue.
why we are suffering in this country is that there's a gap between the researchers and the people who are in charge of our policies. Because most of the things that are going on around us, I can tell you that they have already been researched.
Yeah.
The question is, how do the policy makers, those governments, how do they engage some of us? That gap is what is causing us. Because all things being equal, what you do should suggest something to policy makers.
My question is, how do you get the attention of the supervisor? Since you know that there's supposed to be this relationship between where when you submit or when but this is a case where supervisor is so busy traveling up and down, and so how do you really get the person?
How do you get the attention of your girlfriend? Let's be frank.
Okay. Things that are very natural. All things being equal, a supervisor wants to work with a student who is studious, who is interested in what he or she is doing, who is committed to the job. But if you are a student and you hand over one chapter to me, and for the next 2 months I don't see. Then when you submit the next one after 3 months, just 3 days after that, you pass by my door, so say, I just came out, just having to finish it. For all you know, you were coming to tell me that have you finished with what I finished? Meanwhile, you spend about 3 months and that. So what? Students, when they are very studious, supervisors are always ready to work. If you don't work with students who who is playing really bad in the league. We assign him, go and read this. He comes on the meeting, have to read this, and he starts doing something like this. Sometimes, so we couldn't find him. Meanwhile, you as supervisor, you know that the thing is available. You can go to buy for them. So sometimes it's the fault of the students. Of course, some supervisors are very difficult to deal with. That's why in the selection of supervisors, the HOD should also be careful. In some institutions, supervisors are already accredited. They have certificates to indicate that they are people who can supervise. But we haven't got them. So now let's deal with those who have. Let us be courteous and be committed. We've all sacrificed to be here. Am I right? Just to do a PhD or to do a conference. So why not sacrifice and sacrifice well? Sacrifice effectively. Now when you complete your course, then you can decide not to pass back and do that. I know you normally can because every time I see a pass through, I say, oh, you want reference?
You see why he's your girlfriend. So we have given you all the ingredients in the summary already. That you have to be committed throughout the period. And so you want to get my attention, I should also see you as being committed. So it's not like I'm also busy. You are busy. But you know you are busy and you are taking on students. So you make time for them. But not when you say let's meet Friday and the student comes and coming Monday. And then they think you should be able to accommodate them. So you want your supervisor's attention, then let's put a structure in place. So you know when you meet, you know when you get your feedback. Not as he said, that you delay and then in the end, when it's getting, you don't want to go into extension, the whole world will know that it's your supervisor who is delaying you. But you delayed at some point, and that doesn't count. So let's all be committed.
In a situation where your supervisor shows lack of interest in your work, does the student have an option to suggest some change?
Yeah, you have every option to talk to the head of the department. But how can you judge lack of interest?
He's not responding well to you.
What would have been the course?
You see, you are taking it one-sided.
Yeah, sometimes.
Is it the lack of feedback?
Yeah, so sometimes it's not your fault. Sometimes he's not interested in the work you're doing.
And he or she has told you so.
From the feedback that you get. And the thing is that the supervisor is not interested.
And if you are in Mphil, you have more than one. So, unless both are not interested. See, because ideally, the ideal situation is what I described to you. That if Prophet Jehum and I are supervising, and we don't see you separately, but we see you together, in his office or in my office, as a striker, you won't have this problem. Because as to whether I'm interested or not, it will be between me and him, not you. So that's why I said, let's not be quick to judge. Because sometimes people have even told us about some people already in the department. So already you can't bias. That this man, when you work with him, you won't finish. But I've told you, even for the different students, for the same person who works very well, students pass easily. The style will depend on your need, your ability, your personality. How you personally interact with the supervisor. So if we have the same supervisor, you will have problems, you will not have.
Sometimes you don't know whether the supervisor is doing something. I like that something is more than try to achieve the focus on the area you want to research.
What is your specific one? Let's take it. Rather than being abstract. That's why we are here.
I'm looking at electronic government, the application of electronic government at DVL. But I had this colleague of mine who wanted to look at climate change. And it's supervisor was not that much interested in climate change. The supervisor was suggesting another research area, but my friend was also interested in that research area, so to bring us up.
No, then it goes to the head of the department. The supervisory committee is not fine. There's a graduate committee. They can assign somebody else. If they don't have the expertise on climate change, you cannot force them to supervise climate change. You understand? Yeah. So that's why in most instances, when you are applying for graduate studies, you deal with the department, not with graduate school. You deal with the department. With the department, like you're writing overseas for school, you deal with the department. You want to do something on cassava in the US, and they don't have anybody to supervise you. They tell you they cannot take you. So we cannot change supervisors' area into new areas for them. Otherwise, you won't be supervised. You will be doing your own work. Yeah.
It's about the structure. Who draws the structure?
The two of you and your supervisors, they are two, they are three. This is an agreement. So if we are meeting every week or every other week, it's something we discuss. If every week is not convenient to you for some reasons, or you be in the field, you can come and do this. Nobody is imposing things on you. You are mature.
So please, once this research plan is to the student supervisor.
Yeah, as the overall responsibility on the student.
As there must be compatibility between the supervisor and the student. As like to whether the student has a right in choosing a supervisor.
You don't have a right in choosing supervisor. That's why I said you tell us your area. We are not saying specific topic. You tell us your area, and we are telling you who have the expertise. You don't know the expertise of Professor Jeku for you to decide that you are choosing supervisors. The department has worked with people, they know the expertise. So that's why I said people want to pick people that they are familiar with, their friends to supervise. That's a different issue. This academic, you can still go to your friend and ask for help.
Well, during thesis defense, I want to ask if it's grounds to more or less discourage students, or it's a grounds for our supervisors to listen to the work you've done.
The thesis defense. Whether it is
a grounds to discourage you totally the work you've done, or it's grounds for our supervisors to listen to us finally.
Well, it's a very interesting one, but we don't do negatives here. You see, wait. I do things positive. I don't believe in negative thinking. Nobody will set out to do negative as an objective. That an objective of, let's say, an examination is to fail students. It doesn't happen. It's a feedback.
I think one of the happiest moments of a supervisor
people
is
want
to
to
see his student pass
in a cell.
with excellent grades.
Yeah.
If you are a lecturer or a supervisor and your intention is, okay, any time I supervise to produce you feel, then you must not be a human being.
No. It's not possible. It's not possible. You want to showcase your student. See, so you tell the people about what you have been able to achieve. That you planned this thing, you executed, you have collected data, you have analyzed, and this is your outcome, this is your recommendation. You have also contributed to that subject matter. If you are not able to do that and you fail, then you have failed, not your supervisor. Yes.
You spoke about the issue of plagiarism.
Yes.
To which extent can we limit or...
Well, stealing is stealing. What extent can you limit?
Somebody will be talking about it.
Somebody will talk about it. Yeah, I just highlighted That's why I'm asking questions on supervision. But there's no extent, still it's academic fraud, academic theft. Theft in any form is wrong. So that's why I said that we take you through how to avoid plagiarism. So as much as possible, you avoid plagiarism. I believe maybe just the last one, and then we'll start. Okay, so thank you very much. We'll get into our sessions and take you through. I think the first one is. So this will be research ethics, or ethics in research. Then Prof. Ita will be available later to take you through how to avoid plagiarism. So we'll start then with Dr. Lawrence Boachi to take you through the research ethics. I don't know whether you have a presentation.
Well, good morning. Good morning. So we continue our work from here. And as Prof said, we just continue with ethics in research. As you do your work, some of the issues that you should be very much concerned with, especially in regards to when you are doing a data collection and all this. So what I know, as Prof said, you might be somewhere in this area of your work. You don't know very much. Some of you are just working on the problem. Some of you are just working on literature review. It could be preparing the research design, including whatever, collecting of data, analysis of data, and all those things. So I know that each and every one of you here should be somewhere caught in here somehow. But we are not going to just focus on it. But what we are going to focus on is more into what is research ethics and how you can incorporate this in your work as a student. So I just try to give another explanation of what it is. And I just said that it's defined as the application of fundamental ethical principles to a variety of topics involved in research, even including scientific research as well, which is much more important. This includes the design and implementation of research involving human or animal experimentations. Various aspects of academic scandal, including scientific misconduct, such as fraud, fabrication of data, and plagiarism, which Professor Helen will give to us later on. One thing that we have to know is that the academic research is built on trust. Very, very important. have to really trust you. And there is this kind of decorum of respect for all that you do. But for researchers trust that the results that reported by others are also sound. And whatever you bring, it's something that is sound, based on correct principles. Very, very important. Society trusts that the results of research reflect an honest attempt by other researchers to describe the world accurately without any form of bias. But this trust will endure only if the academic community develops or devotes itself to exemplifying and transmitting the values associated with research conduct. So that is one thing I want you to bear in mind. Whatever you give to me as a supervisor, I trust you that you do the right thing. And that is one thing that's very important, that trust has to come because we know that you are genuinely doing the right thing when you are on your own. Because I can't be with you 24/7. When you're in the library and research, I'm not there. But when you bring in the materials with all the references and all the way you are collecting your data, there must be that kind of decorum that must exist between student or the researcher and those who are supervising, and also the academic world as well. So that is the first thing about defining more or less generically what research ethics is all about. Also, we have to know that research ethics is different throughout different types of educational communities. Depending upon where or how the area that you are working, it depends upon that particular reality. In some places, every community has its own set of morals. In anthropology, for example, research ethics were formed in the initial stages to protect those who are being researched on and to protect the researcher from topics or events that may be unsafe or may make either party feel uncomfortable. Right? So these are the things. So the area that you are, it depends very much on it as well. And then there's research that involves human subjects or participants can raise unique and complex ethical, legal, and social and political issues as well. Therefore, research ethics is specifically interested in the analysis of ethical issues that are raised most especially when people are involved as participants in research. So we will focus on that, all right? That we focus on people, the people that you're going to work with. Because most of the information that you are going to get, you get it from people. That is one important thing. How do you deal with them? How far can you go, all right, in asking certain questions, in dealing with them as a society? So these things are very, very important. And we should start thinking about the way we do our work in this particular situation. There are three objectives that maybe I want you to bring your mind on when it comes into research ethics. Okay. The first and the broadest objective is to protect human participants, for example. Sometimes you can even protect animals as well, so, in some areas of expertise. And the second objective is to ensure that research is conducted in a way that serves the interests of individuals, groups, and or society as a whole. Then finally, the third objective is to examine specific research activities and projects for their ethical soundness, right? Looking at issues such as the management of risk, protection of confidentiality, and the process of informed consent. These things are very, very important. And then most of the time, one way or the other, we may have breached one of these rules and regulations. But we need to make sure, because the world is changing, and people are becoming aware of how we can really relate with them in case that we're looking for any form of information. Okay? Very, very important. One other thing that I want us to also know is that research ethics has traditionally focused on issues of the biomedical area most of the time, but the application of research ethics to examine and evaluate biomedical research has been well developed over the last century and has influenced much of the existing statutes and guidelines. So realize that most of our codes, ethical codes, has been derived from biomedical areas of expertise. But it doesn't matter that even today, in humanities and social sciences, we have also been able to come up with all kinds of issues as well. But in the initial stages, our area wasn't that much developed until recently. Most of the areas were more related to medicine or biomedical research. So from here, I realized that new and emerging methods of conducting research, such as outdoor ethnography and participation action research, raise important but markedly different ethical issues and obligations for researchers. Therefore, because of these new areas, we are also being entreated to make sure that we take it very seriously, especially in relation to when you are dealing with vulnerable people, which may include children, persons with developmental or cognitive disabilities, persons who are institutionalized, right? The homeless or those without legal status. All these things, when you are supposed to go into that, when your work is supposed to go into these areas, you must have some caution, respect, and some care, but you don't overstep your boundaries, because they are very, very important. And fortunately, in our campus today, we have ECH membership, that is Ethical Committee of the Humanities. It was inaugurated, I think, last year, and I happen to be one of the members of the board. And it's really interesting that at least we have something like this on our campuses, right? So that what we do is that people have to come and seek ethical clearances before you can move on with your research work. And we have, these are the membership that we have so far at the moment. But if you go to like other parts of the world, I put up the IRRB, very common in the United States. That is where you have to get clearance, you have to take your research proposal through them for them to approve. That your methodology that you're using can be, scrutinized in a way before they allow you to go ahead, depending upon what you are going to do. So we are trying to set up something similar in our university here right now, and I think it's very, very good. And we get loads of work every month coming in. Sometimes, as a member, we go through some works, and then the proposals and the way people present it becomes very difficult for us to, give kind of like go ahead. And some of the works that come through us, and we have to defer, send it back to the researcher for them to rework. Some questionnaires are not well done, and it becomes a problem for us to just let it go. And when it becomes like that, you realize that these students and researchers, they become a little bit uncomfortable. Some are not very happy because they think that we are delaying them with their budget and their time. But we have to be very serious about it. And we sit down, these members, we always sit down to make sure we go through every proposal that comes through us. And I have even here some of we have the reviewers checklist for research protocols. And this is what we use for every thesis that comes through us. And we look at the statement of the purpose of the study. We look at the research plan, benefits clearly identified, foreseeable risk, okay, that foreseeable risk to subjects are minimized. It has to look at as well, that your work, make sure that these things are there, all right? Selection of subjects reflect equity. Selection of inclusion criteria, selection of exclusion criteria, remuneration of the use plan, the informed consent document, which we have to make sure that we get one. We also have it here. So I will entreat you to go on the internet, on the university website, and make sure you look at the demands in case your work will have to come to us for clearance. Because this is very, very important, and these days we defer people, we have to send the work back to them because their approach of research has some problem with ethical regulations as well. So this is good for us in one way or the other, for us to be able to help our students do the right thing in their research. So I think there's a picture of the membership here. Some of us are here, that was what we did. And also, that is what is happening now. All right, so that is just for the introduction, letting us know that what ethical research or research ethics is all about. And your responsibility as students to make sure that you really do the right thing by going by the rules. And one thing I always say is that don't be a stranger. We have an office, the annex, I think the extension of each office. All right, if you go there, we have our coordinator, I think Mrs. Madam Dr. Mensa or something, and she is there all the time. So in case you are beginning to do your research and you have any problems about the ethical issues, when you go there, she can give you directions on how to go about it, so that you don't find yourself in a situation whereby you're working with it. So make sure you get yourself involved in trying to find what are the steps you can take. Where can't you go and where can you go? How far can you go with your research questionnaires and all those things, so that you don't really doesn't become a problem for you also. So that is the introduction aspect. Now let us go into some few areas. Since we don't have much time, I'm just going to talk about 4 or 5 areas that want to create awareness. That would be more or less for today. Then the rest, maybe you may have to find other resources and get yourself involved. The first thing I want to talk about is what is intellectual property. Professor already mentioned it before, that it is something very important. And this word has been, been thrown around all over the place. Everybody talking about intellectual property. What is it all about? Because if you understand this intellectual property word, it helps you in a very serious way to even avoid some problems in plagiarism, which Professor Yita will give to us later on. So I try to find a definition as knowledge, creative ideas, or expression of human mind that have value and are protected under copyright, patent, trademark, or trade secret laws for imitation, infringement, and dilution. All right. So if you have a knowledge, creative idea, an expression of human mind, it has value. All right. So when you sit down and you come up with a book, an article, or idea, or something, it's your work, and it has value. And because of that, it becomes your property. And if any other person wants to consult that, then we have to make sure that the person does not, imitate it without your, recognition or without giving you that sort of respect. That people don't dilute your work, all right, and make it BS. So this is some of the issues that these days is becoming very common. And I think one of the major problems is because of the internet. Because these days everything is out there on the internet. And because of that, you can just go to Google anything at all, you take information and you just put it there without giving the right permission. When you do that in a way, then you are infringing. It's more or less a criminal law. You are against that. So we have to be very aware of this particular issue. Intellectual property also includes brand names, discoveries, formulas, invention, knowledge, registered design, software. It's really, really broad. It's really, really broad. And that is why you have to be very careful that when you are consulting, when you are researching, when you are doing your work, you make sure that every idea that you come across, you make sure you find out the source. And I want to go into that because Prof will tell you more about plagiarism. I think she will cover that area as well. So, intellectual property also refers to you. And this refers to you in the sense that your work that you've done, your thesis which you've taught for the past 2 years, becomes your property as well. Alright? And that is where you can claim ownership for that perspective. Therefore, faculty advisors must discuss publication credit with students as early as feasible and throughout the research and publication process as appropriate. When researchers and students put